was March of 1975. A high-level time of distress for me. I was not happy with my current major of engineering at Michigan State University, and I felt very lost. I suppose famine fits there. As winter turned into spring, since I was tutoring so many of my fellow dorm mates in their mathematics classes, it occurred to me, I'm not always a fast learner, that maybe I should be a mathematics teacher. But if I was going to be a teacher, I would want to be a coach. So I had two younger brothers, ages 11 and 12, who had never played on a Little League team but wanted to. I called up our hometown Little League supervisor and asked him if he could put together a team for me, including my two brothers. So he did. School got out in June, and we had our first practice. I only knew two faces, but there was one face that stuck out that I did not know. Her name was Janice. She was the only girl who had signed up for Little League, and her older brother Brian was, at that time I didn't know, but he was going to be my catcher, was on my team. So the Little League supervisor, in his infinite wisdom, put Janice on my team as well. She was the youngest person in the league and the only girl. So, anyways, so that's the kind of team we had. We weren't misfits, but we needed work. Our first game was 35-7. It would have been a lot worse, but the league had a rule that you could only score 10 runs in an inning, then you had to leave the field. Fortunately, that rule. So the second game we lost as well, but I'm practicing. My mother harangued me, "You're gonna wear those kids out." I didn't care. I was practicing anyways, teaching them the game and teaching them how to hit, throw, run the bases. We were not the Bad News Bears, but at times we felt like it. Now the schedule was such that the coaches, they had a meeting before I ever got out of school. There were 6 teams, and the other 5 coaches had decided that they did not want to have a playoff. Rather, they would, most of the time, summer leagues, I've coached before, or not before that year, but since then, you play everybody twice and then you have a playoff. Well, they wanted to play everybody 3 times and no playoff. Well, okay. But the supervisor rearranged the schedule so that we didn't play them in the same order. So that first time through, we won a couple games. The second time through, we actually won every game except that team that beat us 35-7. They did not beat us as badly, but they still kicked our butts. So now we come to the third time through. And we were playing them toward the end of that rotation. We had improved a lot, and I don't remember anything else about the game except that it's the bottom of the last inning. We're tied 12-12, and my fastest runner is on second. I don't remember how we got there. But you have to play everyone in Little League. And so in this key juncture of the game with 1 out, Janice is up. Now Janice had gone from standing very cowardly, taking 3 strikes, to swinging very weakly, to finally starting to put the ball in play. She was still 0 for 1975, never got a hit. But she's up to bat in this key juncture of the game, because in the league you play everybody. That's the way it works. Well, I'd already made up my mind that if she put that ball in play, that I was going to send my guy from second base all the way home. I just had made up my mind. So Janice hit a slow ground ball to the second baseman, who happened to be their team's youngest, smallest player that everybody has to play. The coach put him at second base because he was the littlest kid, and that was the shortest throw to first. And he so proudly caught that ground ball, picked it up, threw it to first base, and the ball finally got there. And I'm sending my guy. He's rounding third base. He's going. And the first baseman was a left-hander, to our advantage. If you know much about baseball, if I'm facing the second baseman, home plate's that way. So he reaches out, catches the ball, and I could hear their coaches screaming at him, throw it home, because they could see what I was doing. Well, he had to get his little 12-year-old body around to throw it home, because he was a lefty. And by the time he did, My fastest guy had slid across home plate. My bench erupted because they knew we just won the game, 13-12, and they took off to go get him, but he popped up and took off to go get Janice. And the boys followed him out there, and this is the feast now, is that Janice was carried off the field. She was old for 1975, but she was carried off the field by her teammates because she did not strike out. She put the ball in play, because that was our mantra all season, put the ball in play, put the ball in play, and knocked in the winning run. And I was hooked. That was the other part of the feast. My famine was over. I knew this was, I taught school for 38 years. I coached 45 teams. I taught at Goodrich High School. I coached teams, probably another 20 teams in the summertime, for little league teams and such. But I was hooked because it was just so uplifting. The feast was there. I did not know the impact until, 30 years later. That was 75, so that would have been 05, probably even later than that. But we'll say 30 years later, when there was a gathering. The one brother who was on the team had a birthday party at a bar and invited, and just so happened, about half a dozen of those guys who played ball that summer were there, and they were regaling. And so we talked about this whole story there. And they said, oh yeah, you don't know that for the next 6 years and all the way through school, anytime any of those uppity guys on that team that we beat were trying to give us a hard time, we beat you that summer. You have nothing you have nothing on us. So there was certainly they fed off the feast for the next 6 years too as well. Another story, but I'm not going to tell it today, is that summer was also the summer I met the love of my life. But that's another story.